Welcome into the CBS Sports College Football Channel. I'm Andrew Ivins, joined by my two buddies, Blair Angulo, Tom Loy. Guys, we're talking about USC's recruiting class, currently sitting number one in the rankings ahead of signing day. This could be the Trojans' first number one finish in 24/7 sports history. Got to go all the way back to 2006 to the last time they finished at the top. That's back when Taylor Mays signed with the Trojans. Blair, I'll start with you. Give me a ready-to-play player in this class.
Got to go with Mark Bowman, highly rated tight end for Mater Dei there in Santa Ana, California. In the backyard for the Trojans, a huge win to pull him out of there and to beat out the likes of Georgia and Oregon and Texas and Ole Miss and a few other programs that were jostling for position there. I think he's ready-made because he's been doing it ever since he was a freshman in high school. This is a player who's very productive, an incredible route runner, really fluid. I think a lot of people have started to maybe see some Brock Bowers in him with the way he's able to kind of slice and dice his way through coverages. A player that I think is unguardable for linebackers because of his quick twitch. And then from a hand-eye coordination, it's basically you're throwing it to a wide receiver with Mark Bowman. I think the USC staff is super excited. I know that there's been a knock about the Trojans, whether or not they use the tight end in that Lincoln Riley offense, but they've never had a tight end like Mark Bowman. And I can assure you that once he gets on campus there and he enters Heritage Hall, their eyes are going to light up because they're going to have a new toy to play with. The offense is, I think, going to feature the tight end, especially with Mark Bowman leading the charge.
Hard to go against Mark Bowman. He is as special as it gets. But I'm going to go with top 100 cornerback Elbert Hill. I've seen him plenty of times at the high school level, 7-on-7 circuit. I mean, big-time player. You talk to those guys at USC, and they rave about Elbert Hill. They see him as an instant impact, day one contributor, a guy who might even start week one next year for USC. They are that high on him. So the staff is fired up about his potential. They see him as a future All-American. It's hard to argue with what you've seen on tape this year. I mean, the kid just makes plays. He doesn't get tested a ton, but on those rare occurrences that he does, man, he just makes plays. And again, he did it all over the 7-on-7 circuit against the best of the best. So very, very excited about Elbert Hill and his future in Los Angeles.
I can't believe you guys left me with the number one ranked player in USC's class. How about five-star offensive tackle Kenye Pepe, our number one ranked corner protector in this class of 2026? And guys, I'm under the impression he's going to be a day one starter. I don't know if it's me at right tackle. I don't know if it's going to be on the left side, but the folks there in LA are fired up about Kenye Pepe, and it's easy to see why. I mean, he's got the size, 6'6", 320 pounds. He wears it like it's 280. Coming out of IMG Academy. And guys, IMG Academy is an O-line factory. J.C. Latham, Evan Neal, Francis Mauanoa, Jordan Seaton, Tyler Booker. I can keep going down and down the list. I wrote 2 years ago that Kenye Pepe was next up coming out of IMG. I'm even more convicted after his senior season. This guy has the goods, and we're going to see him on your TV screen in 2026 in some type of capacity. Technically advanced, polished, he's all there. Going to be some lumps, but look for Kenye Pepe when we talk USC, when you watch them moving forward. Tom, the quarterback in the class, USC goes into Illinois to get Jonas Williams. How did they do that, and what do you think about the fit there at USC?
That was Chad Bowden's guy, the GM there at USC. They were potentially making a push for him while he was still at Notre Dame, but they decided the current staff at South Bend kind of like Noah Grubbs a little bit more, so they kind of overruled him, and that's why each guy landed at their respective schools. But Jonas Williams is a guy I've seen a ton, again, at the high school level on the 7-on-7 circuit. He's really, really made a lot of nice strides over the last couple of years to put himself in position as one of the top quarterbacks in 2026. What I like most is the confidence, the poise, the mental makeup is there. He's a high character kid. I mean, great leadership. He'll be a captain at USC. He elevates others, but then you watch him at the Elite 11 finals and he is just making big throw after big throw. I mean, he is a touchdown machine. He lit up. He's one of the most prolific passers in Illinois state history. So USC is absolutely fired up that this kid's going to be representing the Trojans.
I thought it was very interesting that Lincoln Riley pivoted to Jonas Williams when he did, because they were still in on the Rider Lions, in kind of the sweepstakes to get the 5-star from the state of California. They had also offered Helaman Kasunga out west, and a player that has drawn some comps to Jaden Mayava. So to get Jonas Williams to flip him from Oregon, where he was committed previously, not only was a win in that sense, but then you fill a quarterback spot in that room. I think he loves the transfer portal, and I'm talking about Lincoln Riley here. He did it at Oklahoma. He obviously got Caleb Williams to follow him to LA. Jaden Mayava was a transfer portal quarterback as well. I think they're going to be players in that market, especially with now maybe the seat getting a little warmer for that staff there in LA. But I like that they pivoted when they did, because they needed to get a difference maker at that position in this class.
Jonas isn't the biggest quarterback, but he is the youngest signal caller inside the top 247. Tom, you mentioned it. I mean, he has rewrote the record book there in Illinois: career passing yardage, career passing touchdowns. I thought he showed noticeable growth as a senior. That's why he moved up in our rankings. I think he's one of the best point guards in the class. Very accurate to the first and second levels, gets the ball out fast. USC has a 5-star sitting there on ice right now in Hassan Longstreet. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point down the line, if Jonas Williams is pushing him. And we'll see, hey, what transfers does Lincoln Riley bring in? But I think Jonas Williams, I don't know if USC was going to do better in this class. And, he's a guy that they're super excited about it, and it's easy to see why. Guys, give me an underrated player in this class, an unsung hero. Blair, I'll start with you.
I'm trying to think of who's going to fill the Makai Lemon shoes at some point, and for me, it's going to be Trent Mosley. That staff absolutely loves what he's able to do on the football field. A couple of years ago, he was the Trinity League Player of the Year as an underclassman. That's an award that's rarely given to players that are sophomores and juniors, considering all the talent in that level of league. And Trent Mosley does things in space. He's able to do things underneath. He does things over the top. He can beat you with his route running, with his wiggle. Makai Lemon does a lot of the same things. You look up and Makai Lemon's open, and I think the same thing is going to apply with Trent Mosley at the next level. Outside the top 24/7, he's been injury prone. I understand that there's not a lot to base it off of. That's been maybe the biggest knock on Trent Mosley, is that he hasn't consistently stayed on the field. But when he is, it's tough to find a receiver out west that's going to be able to put his team on his back, shoulder the load. And when the defense even knows that the ball is going to Trent Mosley usually has the ball in his hands when the play is over.
I'm going to go with 3-star offensive lineman Brett Colliget as my unsung hero, my hidden gem, my underrated guy in this class. And again, this class is loaded, so it's hard to find one. But something about this kid that just makes me think he's going to be so special at the next level. He excites me, man. This is a big-time player. I love the motor he plays with, the violence, the mean streak. He's super polished, technically sound. He's intelligent. I know he doesn't have the long arms you look for, and I think that's a big deal, especially if they're wherever they decide to play him at the next level. But those around him rave about him. He did his commitment live with us at CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports. I just think he's going to eventually be one of the top players in USC's 2026 class.
Well, Tom, just some breaking news for you. He earned a 4th star last week in that final update for 24/7 Sports, and he fits into what I said about those IMG Academy offensive linemen, right? I think I looked up at the start of the season. IMG had 12 guys across college football that were starting somewhere up front for them. So I love that pick. To piggyback on what you said about the wide receivers, Blair, I love this kid, Luck Weaver, right? He is big. He is fast. He is physical. Dad was a boxer. He plays like a boxer. And, Makai Lemon's gone. Jacoby Lane is going to be gone. Someone's going to have to catch passes there for the USC Trojans. And I got my eye on Luck Weaver just because of that physicality in the Big Ten. He can be an X on the outside. And, he was injured as a senior, but he came back and almost 400 yards receiving in 5 games, 7 touchdowns. I'm a huge fan about Luck Weaver. Height, weight, speed, give it to me on the perimeter. Finally, how about a big takeaway when we look at this group? Again, I said it, USC could be their first #1 ranked recruiting class since 2000. and 6. Tom, what do you got?
Andrew, my big takeaway is the fact that, look, this is the #1 recruiting class in the country. It is elite. It is absolutely loaded. This is exactly what Lincoln Riley needed this cycle. Big shout out to Chad Bowden, Dre Brown, Max Steinecker, Weston Zernekel. I could really go on and on. They are absolutely buttoned up behind the scenes. So hat tip to those guys. This is a must-needed class for 2026 in USC. Obviously, we've talked about the seat getting hotter for Lincoln Riley. I think this class alone, when you kind of do add it into what they did in 2025, you look for the future, no question marks this cycle. It's elite in every sense of the word. I just think big picture, this is exactly what they needed. Huge, huge job by Lincoln Riley.
I think it's remarkable that Chad Bowden arrived in Los Angeles earlier this year, probably saw the roster, saw the depth chart, saw what they needed to attack for that 2026 season when you're projecting out. And he came up with 35 commitments, and that's heading into signing day because they're still trying to flip a few. And so we don't really see 30-man recruiting classes anymore. It's a rarity in the modern era. But when you look at their list with 19 blue chippers and also 19 players from the state of California, not only are they bringing in quality, they're also honing down their state and making sure that a lot of the local players are staying there to play at USC. And I think this is going to create a demand in the 2027 cycle as well. This is a program that maybe is not going to take another 30-man class. It'd be hard to see that or envision that. But now it's going to make it a really a destination for recruits, the local ones especially, who maybe look at that class and say, oh, I want to be a part of what they're building. I want to be a part of that trajectory. And I think it's going to be a home run either way for USC, not only with this class, but I think in the future, setting up with what Chad Bowden is doing there.
I'm going to mess with both of you guys said. Look, USC got very portal dependent. Chad Bowden comes in and he hits a reset. And you've said it, right? This class is 35 and approaching 40 in terms of the number of commitments. But it feels to me like a foundational group. This is what USC needed to do. Oregon was going into California and getting whoever they wanted. Alabama was going into California and getting whoever they wanted. USC has put a fence up. And I think when you look at this class, it kind of reminds me of what Mario Cristobal did at Miami, that group with Francis Mauanoa, that group with Ruben Bain. You look at this class and you see guys that are going to be difference makers. And most importantly, you see guys that are going to allow USC to be a contender in the Big Ten. Yes, they can continue to supplement with the free agents in the transfer portal, but they're getting it right from the high school side of things. So USC could be a really big signing day for the Trojans.